they served for us. They sacrificed for us. Their stories deserve to be told. Every military veteran has a story to tell. Join our host, Jay Garstecki, as we honor the stories of our true American heroes, one soldier at a time. The mission today is Operation Healing Heroes. Brought to you by Great Clips.
Nestled peacefully between the Sea of Cortez and the Pacific Ocean lies the beautiful Corazon Cabo Resort and Spa. Only through their generosity and their heart for the veteran community are we afforded this unique opportunity to enjoy all that Cabo San Lucas has to offer. It's here where we meet retired Army Sergeant Dan Jarvis.
Hey Dan, how much fun is this?
Where he and Jay wasted no time in hitting the water.
I'm tired. It's beautiful, man. Absolutely beautiful. So tell me about what childhood was like growing up.
I lived in just a typical suburban military family. My dad was career Navy. My dad's parents moved to Winter Haven, which is in Central Florida, and then when my grandfather developed Alzheimer's, we moved up to Winter Haven. And that's really kind of where I started high school. Then I also got into wrestling, and right as I was getting ready to graduate, my dad says, you got two choices. So, one, you can start paying rent when you graduate, or you can join the military, because I don't have money for college. One day the recruiter knocks on the door and he's in his Class B uniform, and my dad answers the door and says, can I help you? He goes, you know, your son wants to join the Army, and because he's 17, you know, I need parental consent. My dad said, here, let me sign that. He signs it really quick. My mom, on the other end, is literally bawling.
Yeah.
Her DNA is on my enlistment contract. Her tears were on the contract. And I remember her saying, clear as a bell, but Larry, I don't want him to join the Army. He could get hurt. And then my dad just fired back with, shut up, Bonnie, and sign the damn paper.
From Fort Benning to Fort Campbell, Dan would serve a quick 2-year contract with the Army that would lead him into law enforcement in South Florida. It wasn't long until 9/11 happened, and Dan decided to re-enlist.
You know, I missed the first Gulf War, and these guys came to our home turf and punched us royally, and I decided to go back in the Army. So I was 34 years old when I decided to go back in the infantry. At that time, I had recently been promoted to a sergeant, and I was assigned as a team leader in Alpha Company 227 Infantry, and then we got orders to go first to Kuwait for a couple weeks. That was crazy. I remember when we got off the airplane in Kuwait, God, it was about 150 degrees, and it was just like, what did I get myself into?
Welcome. I'm Carlos Blanco, General Manager of Corazon Beach Cabo. I'm extremely excited to host Operation Outdoor Freedom.
Can you imagine if we could get all vets outdoors?
That's what I mean. How many times since we've been doing this today have you thought of anything
Not one time.
related to trauma or anything like that?
All I could see is these mountains, the sky, the water.
The natural healing powers of the outdoors, brother.
Exactly.
In Iraq, the only injury I received was a traumatic brain injury. We call it TBI, concussion, right? I hear a thump in the distance, and I went over the radio. I said, anybody hear that? Like literally like 7, 8, 9 seconds later, boom, the round exploded literally like right on top of or right outside of the HESCO. Probably was out for a second or two. And then when I got up, I was just kind of like dazed and like, what just happened? And I was in a fog at that point. After my 15-month deployment to Iraq, you know, I was on the last group of Wolfhounds out of Iraq, and my company commander, Garrett Trott, called me aside and said, hey, you know, Elliot didn't make it. I'm like, what are you talking about, sir? Elliot Scott was one of our sergeants, and he had gone back to Hawaii. His family came to visit, and 19 hours after he arrived back in Hawaii, he died of an overdose. And that was hard. That was pretty hard. Fast forward, after getting back on the battle roster, one thing, I'm not sleeping. I became a zombie. Every time I would close my eyes, I'd hear that explosion, to where the first couple times I thought we were under attack. Then I realized something's not right. But I continued pushing forward because that's what leaders do. You know, I got to suck it up, got to drive on. Yeah, and then August 19th, we had the orders to go escort EOD, the Explosives Ordnance Disposal guys, out to link up with another platoon. And then I hear an explosion behind me. They got up to the vehicle and they were working on Cordo. So we ended up having medevacs come out. The two other occupants, Sergeant Lohr and Sergeant Rokowski, were medevaced out with Cordo's body. Yeah, that was hard. Cordo, he was kind of the life humor of the platoon. He was the guy, like, let Cordo be Cordo. We all need this, right? And then when we lost him, it was just a gut punch. Man, I remember just slamming my hand on the box that I had in the truck, and I should have said something instead of trying to do everything. I always second guessed, would he still be alive if there was another NCO up front? And that's survivor guilt. That's real. The deployment's winding down. We're getting ready to be replaced by another unit. And I remember laying in my bunk, and I heard one of the NCOs come in and said, "Hey, we have a Red Cross notice." And I heard my name from Sergeant Jarvis. I'm like, oh. That's when my mom, I was told that she had a massive heart attack. So I call home, Dad's like, she's probably not gonna make it. You need to come home. And I said, Dad, you've been married to Mom for 40 plus years. I respect whatever decision you make, but do not make me be the reason she suffers. And that was it.
After losing men in his unit to suicide and losing his mother to a massive heart attack while deployed, Dan was in the darkest place of his life.
Still not sleeping, just kind of just like there. I went to the Class 6 store, which is like a liquor store at a military base, bought a case of beer, and passed out. And then the next morning I woke up, I said, oh, I can sleep. And that just kind of became a routine. I just self-medicate with alcohol. So I got taken off of the line and put on a desk because I was a senior staff sergeant. And that was horrible because now you got nothing but time, right? Didn't really fully understand what was going on. I mean, nightmares, intrusive thoughts, all the emotions, flashbacks. We're just like, man, I'm stronger than this. What's going on? The drinking continued, isolating behavior. I lived in a basement apartment. It was like perfect. It's like a bunker, right? You're underground. You see a little bit above. And, I didn't really socialize a whole lot. I mean, but if I did, it was typically around alcohol. But I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? If this is the rest of my life, I'm just not interested. I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired. And March 2nd, I was looking at a AR-15 I had sitting in the corner of my room. And I'm thinking, all right, I can't ask for help because if I do, I'm gonna get pulled off my job. I'm gonna get my weapons taken. I'm gonna deal with the humiliation. Men aren't gonna respect me. These are all things that I'm telling myself, so that suicide actually became like a ridiculously a better option. And if it wasn't for the kids in the apartment above me, hearing them running across their floor, my ceiling, that's kind of, I'm like, whew, AR-15, 5.56 rounds gonna go right through the floor. I didn't want to hurt a kid. I'm like, all right, that's enough. I'm not even gonna go that route. I'll have to do it some other way. And then the next morning, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday morning, I get a phone call from Ryan, who was my driver in Afghanistan. He's like, Sergeant Jarvis, did you hear about Corey? And I'm like, no, buddy, what happened? He said, Corey shot and killed himself last night. And I remember at that moment, I just kind of looked at the rifle in my room and I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, holy cow, had we lost 2 guys in one night, what that would have done. That was like, that whole week, though, changed everything for me. Seeing how it affected the guys, I realized that could no longer be my option. So I always tell people that, Corey Smathers saved my life. Unfortunately, it's when he took his own. That's kind of what kind of pushes me and drives me as hard as I go. So, still drank, still self-medicated, And then, you know, by the time at that time I'd already had 3 surgeries. So I had my left knee operated on, I had my right shoulder operated, my left shoulder operated on. The military says it's time for you to retire. And and I get it. You got to be healthy to do the job, and somebody needs to take that spot. But then I started working law enforcement and felt normal again, which was weird. I mean, I know now why, but because you're operating fight or flight. So your brain is already hardwired for it with PTS. So I did that job for another 2 years, and then realized, you know, with all the back issues and spinal stenosis and the duty belt just crushing the nerves and being in pain all the time, I realized, you know, this is also a young person's profession. And then when I took the uniform off, whew, I didn't expect it. Everything just kind of flooded back. And that idle mind truly is the devil's playground. I didn't understand. I was like, man, I thought I had dealt with all this. So the nightmares came back. All those intrusive thoughts started popping in. The emotions started triggering again. I'm like, where's this coming from? And I got invited to a men's leadership retreat in Tampa, Florida. And I went and met some pretty cool dudes. I'm sitting there, and it's a PTSD type training. And I'm sitting in the back of the class, and I'm like, this guy's crazy. I'm like, so I'm talking to him like day 2 on a break. So you're telling me you can cure PTSD in 3 to 5 hours? He's like, yeah, it's exactly what we're saying. That's what the data shows. And I'm like, cop brain, right? Bull, all right? I'm like, all right, that's a pretty big leap for me. You know, if I'm gonna recommend anybody to go through this, I wanna experience it myself. So he's like, do you wanna do it in 15 minutes after we come off break in front of the class? And I'm like, I'm not scared of people. I wore a gun for a living. Let's roll, because I'm about to show this guy that he's full of it in front of 25 mental health counselors. So I talked about the event, and I triggered pretty hardcore, which I wasn't expecting in front of people I didn't know. And I'm like, all right, you know, and then he broke the state. He got me out of that memory. So then I realized, okay, now I'm not thinking about this anymore. And then they set up the process, and then got to the end of it. Now tell me about what happened. So I'm sitting there, and I start telling the story, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting. Where's the emotions? They got to come. Where's the emotions? And I got through the entire story, and I looked at him, and I'm like, what kind of Jedi stuff is this?
We at Operation Fishing Freedom are able to share and preserve these veteran stories thanks to our great sponsors. They rely on our YouTube subscriptions. That's where you come in. Please go to YouTube, search Operation Fishing Freedom, and click that subscribe button.
Operation Fishing Freedom Foundation is also a nonprofit organization. And while we rely heavily on our sponsors, it's the donations from viewers like you that really make a difference. Log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, and click on the donate button.
Your donations are tax deductible and no donations too small.
As a new day dawns in Cabo, Sergeant Jarvis as well has found a new light.
Yeah, PTS gone, man. I have no issues with it whatsoever. That was the weekend I decided, you know, what I wanted to do with a nonprofit. And the guy running, his name was Scott. He said, Dan, you look like you have something you want to say. I just looked, I said, yeah, 22-0. He's like, well, what's that? I said, we're losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. We're gonna take it to 0. And everybody's looking at me like, this dude is crazy. But you know what? There's gotta be something. There's gotta be a better way. There's gotta be a better way to deal with trauma than what the VA is using. We collected our first 100 cases with our process. We call the Trauma Resiliency Protocol, TRP. 100 people that had PTSD, that average score on an 80-point scale were mid-50s, 56-ish. Anything from 20 to 80 would have been the PTSD threshold. Their scores dropped to 2, like 2.12. So you're going from mid-50s to 2, which is asymptomatic at that point. A clinical improvement is 10 points. They consider that a good clinical success. So then we did another study, and we replicated it with the next 100. Same thing, they were in the mid-50s, and that group was done in 3 sessions, but they dropped to like 1.6. And then we did a study with kids. And that to me was the most stunning, because we had 66 children, ages 4 to 17, who their scores were about mid-40s, 46. The kids are so resilient, they dropped to like almost 0.
So just to be clear, there's no drugs involved in this at all.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. Was there drugs? Do I got to take something? And there is 0 drugs necessary for what we do.
What types of costs are we talking involved to be able to do something like this?
There is a catch to it, Jay. I'll be honest with you. When we work with vets and first responders, there's no money that changes hands, but when the person heals, we expect that they send us 2 or 3 people.
Sounds like a payment you couldn't live without, right?
Exactly.
Man, what an awesome day in Cabo, huh?
It's absolutely gorgeous.
I can't wait. This is going to be a first for Operation Outdoor Freedom. We've never gone deep sea fishing, so this is going to be really cool.
Sergeant Jarvis triumphed over the tight grip of despair. He found his way out of darkness. Now, he takes on the moral imperative to shine the light back in, to show others the way out.
Hopefully the fish cooperate, huh?
Yeah, it'd be great if they do. And
If they don't.
I know, even if they don't, look, we're in paradise right now.
Today, we celebrate you, Sergeant Jarvis. And as a token of our appreciation and a sincere thank you for your service, and with a generous donation from the Corazon Cabo Resort and Spa, you get to go fishing.
It is a marlin, brother. I watched it hit it. From up here, we can watch him. He came right behind it. He smashed it. Oh, yeah, it's a nice fish.
Holy
yeah. He just
Look at that thing.
Oh, my gosh. Look at that thing, Dan.
That thing is huge.
Oh, no way. Oh, my gosh. Look at that. Oh, man.
Good? Look at it. All right. Thanks.
How awesome was that, man?
That dude made me work.
We got a baby. We got a marlin, baby. I got my first one. Oh my gosh, that is so awesome. Got it? Ugh. Oh man.
Yeah.
I've been slimed. Oh, the St. Croix rod? 2 for 2 on the St. Croix. Oh, it's pretty cool that I got to share my first marlin with you.
Yeah, that's my first marlin.
Chris Erickson, the owner of Corazon Resort and Spa, and the owner of this boat, Bad Medicine, for them to donate this to us, it's just absolutely amazing, isn't it?
It's incredible.
I said Bad Medicine put us on the fish and St. Croix did all the dirty work. That's what I called it. Well, on behalf of Operation Outdoor Freedom and St. Croix Rods, I want to make sure that we get you this. And I don't know if this is going to land a marlin, but it'll certainly land some fish for you.
Right.
Your own custom rod, handcrafted for Dan Jarvis. An appreciation for your sacrifice and service.
Wow.
And of course, your very own Operation Outdoor Freedom jersey. I can't say thank you enough, brother.
Man,
it's been so much fun.
My gratitude cup is full, like I said before. You guys have been awesome. Love you guys, what you guys do.
If you'd like to personally thank a veteran that you've seen in one of our episodes, or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode, log on to our website, operationhealingheroes.org, and click on the nominate button.